Maseches Bava Kama, Daf Mem Amud Aleph. Tonu Rabbanon with a third wide line. Tonu Rabbanon Shaloi B'chezkas Tam. A person borrowed a shor, assuming it's a tam. In other words, he thought that the shor was a shor tam, and the Bailim did not inform him that there really was a muad. The Bailim did not disclose important information. Yeah, I'm not sure that he lied to him, mamish, through his teeth, but v'nimtza muad. Yeah, really the shor is a muad. Ay, 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 ay. So now, what would the shoyel, the barber, tell? Yeah, in the place of the shoyel, when he was there, the shor gored, and he came out, the shor was already muad while it was by the real owner. The real owner lent him a shor muad without telling him. So now the shoyel, yeah, there was one negicha by the house of the shoyel. And how much does he have to pay? How much has to be paid? Passive voice full, it's a muad. But the shoyel says, with tears in his eyes, the camera now focuses, yeah, there's a close-up on his teary eyes. You can definitely make a movie from a Gemara, no question. And he says, you lied to me. You just lied to me, right? So then he's right, you lied to me. And therefore what? Each one has to pay half. You can ask why, and the Gemara discussed it at length. Superficially speaking, it does make sense. In other words, the shoyel has to pay half because that's what he would be prepared to pay anyways. You assumed it's tam, okay, so pay as if it was tam. Now the owner liar, yeah, he really has to pay the other half because in a way it's his fault that the other half is not within the achrais, the authority of the shoyel, so that stays with the achrais of the owner. It's as if the owner did not give full authority to the shoyel because there was not full disclosure of the whole situation. So ki'ilu half stays by the mashil, by the owner, who's a liar. Who had beveis shoyel? Comes the brisa now with no questions. I'm sorry, no 5 minutes. No. Who had beveis shoyel? Thank you. Who had beveis shoyel? Continues the brisa the other way. Now it's a mirror image of the first case. Who had beveis shoyel? In the house of the shoyel, in the house of the borrower, there it became muad. Okay? In other words, I gave you, I'm the owner, now I'm the nice guy, I gave you a nice shor. I don't know what you did to it, but in the house of the shoyel, it started going off the deRav. In the house of the shoyel, it became muad, it gored 3 times. Then he gave it back to the bailim. Now, we're not saying whether he did or did not inform him, the shoyel, to the owner. He became muad by the shoyel. The bailim only have to pay half, even though the shor became muad in the house of the shoyel. Now he came back from the house of the shoyel and he's just not behaving the same. So we assume still the fourth goring, he has to pay only half. And the shoyel is completely exempt. That I'll tell you why that's very surprising and startling. The reason why is very simple in the Seifa, because we say Reshus Meshana. Only in the Sefer Reshus Meshana. You should know what Reshus Meshana means, and if you don't, so I'll translate it to you. It's one word in modern English called reset. In other words, since by the house of the shoyel behaved one way, now it's back to his natural habitat to the owner. Now there's different name, different behavior, different everything. Mimela now is back to 0. Yeah, we reset, we balance. In Hebrew, it's called, there's a verb in Hebrew called, maybe you learned some Hebrew, le'apes. You know the word le'apes maybe. Ephes means what? 0. Le'apes is to 0, to reset back to 0. Yeah, like in scales or anything. Le'apes is back to 0, like nothing doing before. And that's what's happening over here. And therefore, the bailim starts new clean slate when he's back home by his beloved owner. Now the Gemara will interpret, analyze, explain, and everything, both parts of the brisa. By the way, there's a contradiction in the brisa, if you noticed. Because if you say that Reshus Meshana and we reset, in the ratio we did not make a reset, right?
By nothing.
Not nothing but half. And the bottom should pay nothing. If you believe in reset so much and the psychology of animals, which is very nice, so why do we say, you lied to me? I didn't lie to you. It's a reset. Who? By me it was muad, by you it's going to behave nicely. And then we don't say it in the ratio. The Gemara will discuss it later, but this is just a brisa with English translation from me. I'm willing to hear quick and specific questions and then I'd like to continue. Not to get too much into things, because let's get into things. Yes. Yeah. Omar Mar is an Amoira, an anonymous Amoira explaining the Brisa. And now we're going to read the first part of the Brisa and explain Bezel Shem everything. Very fascinating and very easy Amud. Shor b'chezkas tam, this is a quote. Shor b'chezkas tam v'nimtza muad. Yeah, somebody borrowed a shor assuming it's a tam, and he was misinformed, and there was a disinformation, v'nimtza, misinformation, v'nimtza muad. It's a muad really. Ba'alim shalmim chatzi nezek, the ba'alim have to pay half, v'shol chatzi nezek. Okay. Why does the shol even have to pay half? Why does the shol even have to pay half? Even if you say, I was willing to get a tam, but lemaisa, tam and muad, except for Rabbi Yehuda, we say tam and muad are like two different creatures. Muad is a kind of creature which I never wanted to borrow in my life. Look at the Gemara's beautiful words in the widest line. The ema, why can the shoyel tell the mashil, the owner, lema le, you should tell him, the borrower should tell the owner, toyel sheili, I borrowed an ox, ari lo sheili, I did not borrow a lion, which means the difference between tam and muad are two things. First of all, Mackenzie and McKinley can also chop, these are two different types of behaviors. He's nice and cutesy, and the other one is a wild of Ildechaya. And secondly, it's a payment business. Half as opposed to whole. And that only the Torah says. But forget about the amount of payment. It's a different creature. I was not mekabel the shmira of an aryeh. I was mekabel to guard a regular, nice behaving bull, which I thought the level of shmira I gave him was 100% good for the animal I thought I was guarding. I had no idea that the behavior was different. And therefore, I'm sorry, I don't have to pay anything. It's like all mekachtos. Yeah, like you sold me an esrog, and instead it's a hat. And says the Gemara, Marav, and says the Gemara, and you know the story's over here. Shehikir Boshu Nagchan. The borrower always knew that he's a bad boy. He knew that he's in Nagchan. He tends to go, he's a gorer, not a gerer. Yeah, he's a gorer, he's a Nagchan. Yeah, it's a different thing. When Nagchan, he knew that he has a tendency to be Meshugana. Happens to be the police never caught him. You know, there's many Meshugana drivers. He's bad, a bad driver. The police never caught him. He never actually had to pay. He didn't accumulate the 3 bad points. But Lamaisa, you always knew that the Teva, he needs a lot of guarding. That's an Ukimta. That's the story over here. Enech mashma, that let's say he did not know he was an Agchan, then he doesn't have to pay anything. He was not loyal in Arzeis Palalti. That's not what I thought. Over here, he knew he's an Agchan. And by the way, this Gemara is a source of Toisfus, which we learned a few days ago, that sometimes shor muad doesn't mean muad mamish, that he has 3 bad points. Gichas means a type of animal. He's a bad boy, he's a bad show. Yeah? So Lamaisi Ikir Bashu Nagchan. Over here, we knew that he just has bad temper. Frag the Gemara still, we're now defending. By the way, the Gemara is going to have very nicely 2 parts. Now it's the lawyer of the shoyel, of the borrower talking. Later on, we'll have, so to speak, the lawyer of the owner talking, what he has to pay. Now we're presenting my client, the shoyel. The shoyel can have a whole litany of tinus. Maybe the borrower can tell the lender, tam sheili, muad lo sheili. Still, I only borrowed a shor tam and not a shor muad. And the shor tam and muad, even though I knew he's a bad boy and maybe I didn't guard him well enough, but at the end of the day, I wanted tam and not muad. And I was only mechayiv myself to pay half. In my bank account, I prepared an extra, half, well, it's not from bank account, half, to knowing that I'll have to pay from the tam, but I didn't know it's going to be muad the whole nezek. And says the Gemara, well, the answer is very easy. The Baalim can tell him, true, you're right. The halach is on your side. Soif, at the end of the day, itam have, let's say it was tam like you thought it was, and I'm the big liar here, and you thought it's a tam. Let's follow your script. You'd still have to pay half an ezek, right? Hashanami, now also, zil, go, shli, palganizka, so pay half an ezek. And that's very good with the Brisa. Yes, I sympathize with you. And you're right, Mr. Shoyel. Yes, I'm a liar, so don't suggest me as a shidduch. Already I'm married. Yeah, and what? But Lamaisa, you're tinying tam muad to know that it's wild. You knew it was wild, right? So you should have kept it better. Elamai, you're telling me half. True. So half you have to pay. You thought it was tam. So that plan you had to, worst comes to worst, pay half. Pay half. The other half, I will pay, says the mashil, says the owner. But now comes the question, what did I tell you before? Is it coming really from the bank account of the shoyel? Where does the half money, half nezek come from? In the case of tam? No. From the animal. 10 points. From the animal. So Mimela, now the borrower can tell the owner, wait a second, I'm still the lawyer of the borrower, yeah, of the shoyel. With a white shaitel I have to have, yeah, to be the lawyer. No? Ugh. England's not England anymore. Itam hava, if it was a tam, mishal migufoi. I wouldn't have to pay it. It would come out of the body of the tam. And that's what I thought. I thought I'm getting a tam. The tam's going to go wild. I mean, even if the tam starts going wild and start goring, at the end of the day, it will come out from the body of the tam. And I would have to pay 0. And now all of a sudden it's a muad. So even though I have to pay half, that half of the muad, half of muad is not like half of tam, except for abuda. Leave abuda alone for now. Yeah, we really say that half of muad comes from my bank account. And now I have to go to my bank account and pay 200 zuz, let's say, which is half of the negicha. Had it been tam, it would come out of the tam's body and I would be scot-free. Is that true? Would he be scot-free? No. No, the other half is paid by the bailim. But even the half from the tam, yeah, Mishum de Omer Lei, that's not true. Soif, at the end of the day, says the owner to the borrower, you you'd still have to compensate me. In other words, you're shoyel, every shoyel, forget it now about negicha, every shoyel that messes up, a borrower that messes up, be it a shor nagchan, be it a drill that you borrowed, or I don't know, whatever that is, computer or phone, if you're a shoyel, yeah, you have to pay the owner. So Lamaisa, at the end of the day, if it's your fault, and you agree it's your fault, the shor agrees that he knew that it's wild, and it is fault, that it gored. At the end of the day, it would come out from the body of the toe of the shora, but then the shoyel would have to fork out money from his own pocket, his own account, and give it to the bailim, right? Because if it's your fault that it gored, at the end of the day, of course it would come out from your pocket. So Lamaisa, at the end of the day, you're not losing anything, says the owner, not losing anything more than what you would have thought. My lack of disclosure, the fact that I'm sort of a liar, doesn't really make a difference. Because at the end of the day, you thought it was tam, not real tam, that would not pass 3 times. Yes, you would have paid, you would have had to pay me the half. It would come out of the body of my show, the owner, and you would have to compensate me back and give me, because it was your fault that it gored. Why should my shor pay? I should pay for my shor because of your messing up, you Mr. Shoyel. Of course, at the end of the day, you'd have to pay me half. The same half you pay in Gendikt, and be quiet, please. But the lawyer continues. The lawyer of the shoyel gets paid a lot of money, keeps talking on behalf of his client. The name Alei, Ledidi is from before. By Shlumi Ledidi, you'd have to pay me anyways. Frag the Gemara defending the borrower. The name Alei, Amud Beis. The name Alei, Im Tam Hava. If he was a Tam, it would be a whole different ball game. Hava Modina Umiftarina. He would say like this: had I known he was a tam, yeah, so it's true the number half, so to speak, is the same number, you're right. However, the game would be played very different. You don't know me, I'm a savvy guy. I would have known what to do had I known it's tam. Hava Modina Umiftarina. I would have come to Beis Din straight right after the Negicha, come to Beis Din. Now I'm giving my flower examples with tears in my eyes and say, Beis Din, I'm so sorry. I'm Modina. I admit. Oy vey, the shor that I'm looking after, he gored Reuven's cow. I'm so sorry. It'll never happen again. And then Miftarina, I'll be potu from Knas. Without all the tears and all the schmaltzy text, I'm just adding it for the fun of it. What do we say the halacha? Moide, biknas, patu, right? In other words, if half a nezek is only knas, remember daf tesvav, Amud Aleph in the bottom? That's where it says it, yeah? If the person that has to pay half a nezek from the shor is defined as knas, meaning really short time should have paid 0. The Torah basically imposes on him half more, 50% more than 0. That's a knas. Knas means an amount of money which is kilo illogical, not a quid pro quo payment for what I did. It's a knas. It's a set amount. Funnily enough, that's similar to modern Hebrew. You park in the merkaz, doesn't disturb anybody without putting the pengo. You pay, I don't know how much, 250 shekels. It's done. Set amount. A person who admits that he did wrong vis-a-vis knas doesn't have to pay the knas. If he did that before the Eidim came, okay, but that's how we paskin. So his potter says now the borrower to the owner, had you told me that it's a short time, I would have run to Beis Din, because short times half and half of what are not the same. Had I known it's a short time, what would have I done? I would have run to Beis Din, knowing that it's knas, admit the sin, and then they would pater me. And neither me nor you would have to pay anything. Now that I thought it was a muad, I said, there's nothing I can do about it. A muad is not a knas, and therefore, regardless to half or 0 whole, just by muad, my hands are tied. And had you told me it's tam, I would have known to act smartly with Beis Din. Okay? That's what itain is. Okay, and continues the Gemara with another question on top of that. Even according to the one that argued the Daf Tesvav Aleph and says that half an ezek is mamoin. Remember, there was an opinion that says that every shor right from the start is a bad boy if he gored, and the Torah gives you a reduction. The Torah should have given you a whole. You should have paid the entire thing. The Torah gives you what you guys call first-time offense mitigation. You only pay half, but it's really mammon. It's not knas. It's mammon with a reduction. It's real payment, 50% off, end of season. In other words, according to that mandomar, that the payment of the short time is mammon, is money, and not knas. It's actual payment for what you did, and then you cannot be moed b'knas potter. You can cry all along and admit and confess and be a Jimmy and do whatever you want. It won't help you. So if you, according to this man, the Omar, what can the borrower say? The borrower cannot say, I would have admitted. Admitting wouldn't help you. Name a lay, you can tell him, listen to this and don't laugh. Itamhu, had I know it was a tam, have a marikna le'agma. I would have made him run away to the agam. I would have been mavriach. I would have helped the animal escape, to the agam. Agam doesn't mean a lake in Old Hebrew. Agam to a swamp or an area where they graze. To the grazing area, far away, out of town. I would have made sure to, make it go out of town. And then, because it's tam, that's only paid from his own body. Once he goes to the agam, there's nothing to pay for him. Now that I thought it's muad, now that it's muad, there's nothing you can do about it. Now, Tosis asks the question, other Rishonim, how can a person say such a thing? Can a person say, I would lie? Because if really the nizak is also side over here. The nizak, how can you say so? You're saying, I would have lied. Basically, I would be a thief. Because what are you saying? The only mode of payment of shor tam is from his body. He says, had I known he was tam, because I thought he was tam. If it really was a tam, I would have made him run away to the agam. What are you saying here? You're saying that you'd actually steal the resource of payment of the nizak? How can you say such a thing? Says Tosfos that at the end of the second Tosfos, he says, I would have put him in the agam, and then the nizak, knowing that it's by me, I would have played the cards with a hard hand. I would play the cards and say, listen, the shor is not over here. Not that I really not want to pay. I'd be able to negotiate with the nizak. And because when the cards are in my hands, the deck of cards is all by me, I can say, listen, I am now telling you, I would have told the nizak, I have the shor tam by me. You want to be paid? Let's talk, let's negotiate. I'd have the stronger hand. And I'd be able to play it better for both you and me, for our team of the mazik, which is the shoyel and the owner. Now you stupidly did not tell me the truth, and I thought it was, he thought it was tam. That's a bit confusing over here. He thought it was tam, it was tam. If I would have known Tosis explains, by the way, Tosis has a good question over here. There's something very confusing in the sugya, and therefore I'm stopping here and I'm reading Tosis. Tosis says over here, look at Tosis Itam. The first Tosis sheds a lot of light on the sugya here. Itam Havim Udim Neftarim. Look at Tosis and look at the second narrow line of the first Tosis, the words Vav Aleph Taf, Ve'im Toima. Ve'im Toima. Ve'ech yochol iton, how can the borrower keep saying, Itam Hava Modina, Itam Hava Miraknale? Yeah, he says, oh, if it was a tam, if it was really tam, you gave me a muad. You gave me a muad, you liar. Yeah, if it was tam, like I thought, I would have done this, I would have done the other. Now that it's muad, my hands are tied. Because it's muad, I can't make it run away to the agam. Why? By muad, it doesn't help that the animal is in the lake. Why? Because by muad, you have to pay for a bank account. It doesn't matter where the animal is by muad, only by tam. And by muad, there's no knas. Muad, you have to pay whatsoever. Yeah, I'm stuck with a muad. It's not what if I was wrong when I said had I known. Had it really been tam, if it was tam, I borrowed the tam, and I thought with tam there's much more room for negotiation. I can either admit, I can make it run away to the agam. Muad is, besides the fact that it's nezek sholem, muad is much more non-negotiable. Muad, that's it. Once it's gored, I don't care where the animal is, or you feel bad, you feel shmed. No, muad is hard line. You pay cash. You pay with your house, mashkanta. You have to pay. That's the taina. Now, Frektos is a question which probably bothers people over here, although I'm not a telepathist. You would have said, had it been a tam, I would have done better. Yeah? But really, it's muad. Frektos is hakaman, we see in front of our eyes, you thought it was, you're saying, had it been a tam, you thought it's tam, right? You thought that it's tam, and nevertheless, you did not do all that. You're a liar, Mr. Shoyel. You're saying, had it been a tam, I could have done this, I could have done that. Well, you thought it was tam, and you didn't do all that. You still acted like a nini, and you still followed Bezdin like a good boy and just paid. Why? You did not make it run away. You did not act the savvy way, even though you thought it was tam. So that shows that you don't know how to behave with the tam. So who cares for you, vis-a-vis you, Mr. Shoyel? Who cares for you if it's tam or muad? You ain't behave like a tipish. Answers the Gemara, Shloimar, excuse me, Tosfos answers, Demiyad Acher Negicha Hu Gadlo Shumuad. We're talking here like this. I'm a very savvy guy. I know what to do with the tam. But you know the story is, the Ukim Tov Tosfos, right after the Negicha, I saw that shor started goring. I knew it was a Michiganer, but it really gored by me. Oh, what a lachat. It's like a car accident today, insurance, stories, points. I right away found out the story. I went online to look at his history, and I saw that it's shor muad right away. Once I knew it was a shor muad, my hands are tied. I can't do anything with a shor muad. I can't make it run away. It won't help. They'll still take it from my socks, shoes, and computers, from metaltalin, from karga, and I cannot admit because it's not a knas. But had it really been a tam like I thought, and it would really, really be a tam, I would be able to act much better. Again, let's summarize again. The only time so far of the shoyel to the owner is as follows. Had it really been shor tam, like I thought, yeah, it's true I would have to pay half anyways. But no, mitzad the amount, it's half, whether half muad or half because it's tam. But lemaisa, the way to negotiate and deal with a muad is much harder. Muad is much more narrow, non-negotiable than a tam. When I have a shor muad in my hands, which was not what I was expecting, Mister. Yes, you are a liar. I'm sorry. Yeah, had it was tam, I could have made it run away. I could have admitted to Bezdin. I would have worked it out some way or another. I would be negotiating. Now that it's really a muad, and I found out it's muad very soon after the event, muad, there's no non-negotiable thing. Al das zetz, a mekachtos of sorts. I didn't know that's what I'm getting into. I'm getting into a much harder deal than the softer deal, the more flexible deal I thought I'm getting into. So too, say all that says the lawyer of the tam, of the shoyel. So the question is, why does the shoyel have to pay half? Why can the shoyel get off the hook with those very good tightness? Says the Gemara. And yeah, you know the story is Kigon the Akdim Bedin Vetafse. We're making another ukimta. The Bezdin caught it right away. There was no time for him to maneuver, to move around. Beis Din came right away. It's a very tough Beis Din, very tough area. When the short time goes, they catch him right away. More time or muad. They catch him right away. Like in some countries, there's a certain country, you park the wrong way, you park in the wrong time, they tow your car. They tow the car, right? They tow the car, they take it away, now you go deal with it. They towed the shorts in the hands of Beis Din. Mimela, he couldn't have made it run away. He couldn't have done anything anyways. And Mimela, your tinus are good tinus, Mr. Shoyel. Not in this case. In this case, reality was Beis Din caught it anyways. Very nice. Ad kan kof aleph. Ad kan, therefore, let's summarize. The shoyel has to pay half, and with all these ukimtas, we say, setu misye. That's it. Shoyel, you have to pay half anyways. Why? To tell me you thought it was Tam, well, Tam pays half, so pay half. To tell me you could have maneuvered it and managed it, true, but we're talking here, the Beis Din caught it anyways. Beis Din caught it anyways. Mimela, if the Beis Din caught it, we say, true. You have to pay half anyways. There was no way for you to manage with that kind of tough Beis Din, and Mimela, the half that you did come here, al minas, to pay half. So pay the half. What about the other half? The Bailim will pay. So stop kvetching, Mr. Shoyel. That's why the Shoyel has to pay half. That's actually a reasonably good time for questions now. Yes, sir. We're now giving the Reshus the permission. The other lawyer is now talking. Now comes the time of the owner's side to be presented. If so, if Beis Din caught it so quickly, Bailim, now we claim that the Bailim shouldn't pay the half nezek of theirs. Why not? Name alay, the Bailim, the owner can tell the borrower, at pastel toroi, it's as if you gave my bull biyoda to the hands of man, the lomatzina dina badei. You gave it to someone, the lomatzina that I cannot have Beis Din with. In other words, it says like this: the borrower says, well, the case we have over here is that Beis Din took it straight away. Now, the owner can tell the borrower, you tipish, lamaisa, it's true, it's a shor muad, but Beis Din took it straight away to them, and now the bull is in their hands, and you let them take it. You did not deal enough with Beis Din. You should have been more careful with who? You should have been more careful that it doesn't fall into the hands of Beis Din. You thought it was time, you should have made it run away or hide in your cellar, in your basement, before Beis Din came. Had it been under me, says the owner, I would have dealt with it better. So now why do I have to pay half? Because of your shlemazelkeit. You're a shlomiel and a shlemazel, Mr. Shoyel. It all starts with shin, right? And end with a lamed. You're shoyel, shlemazel, shlomiel. Because of you, Beis Din take it. Why did Beis Din take it? Had it been me, I'm the savvy guy, I would have not let them take it. Because of you, it was taken to Beis Din. And Mimela, now I have to pay half because of your shtus. I would have dealt with them, come to some kind of agreement. Mishum domerle. You know why he cannot say that? Answers now the borrower, the shoyel. Let's say I gave it back to you. Let's say it would be in your hands. Yeah, really, wouldn't have taken it from you. Shtriot, of course he would have taken it from you too. Beis Din is Beis Din all over the place. The name alay, frag the Gemara, I was jumping the gun a bit. Now comes the real question. Had you given it back to me, says the owner to the borrower, of course Beis Din is the same Beis Din all over the place and they have the same rules, but I would have tricked the system. I would have taken it to the Agam, I would have taken it to the swamp, to the lake, to the grazing area, to the mezeu, and I would have really dealt with it better than you, Shlemazel, Shlomiel, Shoyel. That's it. That's a taina of the lender, the owner to the shoyel. Answers the Gemara, Mishum Domar Lei, at the end of the day, soif, excuse me, mister, who cares you would have taken it to the Agam? What? This is a shor? What kind of shor is this really? The shor is really what? Muad, that's all taina. It doesn't care. It doesn't matter. The shor muad goes to the lake. Go jump in the lake. And of course, pasuk. Yeah. Soif. At the end of the day, lav me'aliyah. Have a mishtami. What's me'aliyah? From the best of your lands, from the assets. Very good. That was the right word. Have a mishtami. In other words, what's going on over here? You're telling me you're shlemazel. Had it been by me, says the owner the borrower, to the shol, I would have managed it and I would have, maneuvered it and I would have taken to the agam. At the end of the day, there were two adim. Otherwise there's no court case. There were two adim that the shor gored the other animal, or whatever, and therefore you have to pay from your assets, not from the bull. The bull can be in the agam jumping around, but Lamaisa, they would have taken your house, they would have taken your computer, they would have taken your set of gemaras, chas shalom, yeah. So Mimela, don't come to be called Miesh Lamazel, because even if I'm slower and not so savvy, at the end of the day, and you'd be quicker and you'd really make it run away quickly, at the end of the day, yeah, mapitom. At the end of the day, he wouldn't have helped you, because they would go for your house, they'd go for your couch and the sofa and the divan. Zog the Gemara, Hanicha. That's true. When the owner has other assets, then the shor is a good taina. You're telling me you would have made it run away. They would have taken your sofa and your kitchen table and your computer. But let's say the owner is so poor, the only assets he has are the cow. Then Michael, what would you say then? There are no other assets to take. This is my only asset that I can pay with. If I make sure that runs away, if I would make it vanish, so to speak, magically, and make it run away to the agam, then what? Then I would be potter from anything. I have nothing to pay. A person can tell Bezin, I have nothing to pay. And by the way, if he only has a set of clothes and just a bed and the minimal belongings, Bezin doesn't take. As opposed to the vicious Sotzala Paul, they don't take the person's most basic furniture. And Mimela, we say, Mimela now the taina of taina of the owner on the borrower is, I have nothing else to pay with. I would have done better. I would have, could have, should have done what? Had it been by me, I would make it run away to the agam. I would hide it in the agam, and then I would have no assets. Keilu, Mashenkin, you tipish, you didn't make it, disappear to the other place, and now we're stuck together, and we have to pay because of your shlumizlkite. I don't have to pay. Now comes the Gemara. You can feel there's something immoral, I think, in the words of the mashil of the owner. The Gemara now defines it beautifully, and there comes the punchline. Mishum da Omerle. The borrower can tell the owner, you would have, could have, should have all those criminal plans to make it run away and not pay. Just like I'm shubad to you, just like I, the borrower, I have to make sure that your cow, I have to have, I would call it in English, your best interest in mind, and I'm subjugated to you. I'm kilo mortgage to you. I'm mechuyev to you to make sure your animal is safe, your animal is well fed, and your animal is not taken to Beis Din. That's what he's telling him. Yeah, I'm a chuyev kilo to make sure your animal would run away, not be taken to Beis Din, because I'm the shoyel. That's very nice. But look at the bigger picture. Hachinami, so too. Mishtabadna lehaich. I'm also meshubad to who? You know to who? To the nizak. I'm also meshubad to the one damaged. You really want me to be a partner in crime, mister. What do you want me to do? You want me to make it hide, right? Hide it, and not make it available to the nizak. This is wrong, because you say, no, don't look at the nizak. Don't be a tzaddik. Vis-a-vis me, you should have hid it in the agam, and and that's it. So I should have my cow, and the rest shouldn't interest you. That's a line of thought of the owner. Says the borrower, and he's right, and soon I'm going to come to a very, very famous line. Says the borrower, that's not true. A person has to look at the big picture, and that's called the famous Rabbi Nassan triangle, shiabuda de Rabbi Nassan, which means, what's shiabuda de Rabbi Nassan? Because who owes who over here? I, the shoyel, owe you, the owner, right? I have to give you back a safe cow, safe and sound. You, mister, your cow, gored who? Mr. Nizak, okay? So really, it's three people, each one owing the other in a triangle, in a circuit, in a closed circuit. That's the way it goes. And Mimela, I directly owe money to the Nizak. Just like I, the Shol, owe you the Mashil. And you, Mashil, you owe the Nizak. We can cut corners, and that's exactly what we're going to see now. I, the borrower, Kilo, I directly owe directly to the Nizak. Therefore, how can I work against the nizak and make it run away from the nizak? That's theft. That's very moral. And therefore, don't tell me I should have hid it away. That's wrong. I owe it to the nizak directly. How can I hide money / cow from the one I owe it to? I owe you and you owe him. Directly, I owe him. A equals B, B equals C, A equals C. It's very complicated math, right? A equals B, B equals C. A directly equals C, and we jump over the head of B. And that's exactly the very, very famous dogma of Rab Nassan. Rab Nassan, the Tanya, famous Rab Nassan appears all over Shas. The Tanya, everybody should know that, of course. The Tanya, Rab Nassan Oimer, Rab Nassan says, Minayin, how do we know? Lenoishe b'chaveiroi mone. A person noishe is the opposite of to borrow. Noishe is the one who collects. He's bothering him by collecting the money that he owes. Noishe b'chavero mone, b'chavero b'chaveroi, Reuven lent Shimon, and Shimon lent Levi. Minayin shemotzin mizeh v'noisim lezeh. How do you know you can take the assets straight from Levi and give them straight to Reuven, with skipping the middle stage in the middle, and there's a direct chiyuv from C to A, and we're skipping over B? How do we know that this is true in halacha? Talmud Loimer, it says in the Torah, "V'nosan lasher osham loi," which means it says about a person who is a sort of gazlan, a person who's nishba l'sheker, a person who stole one way or another. It says you have to give the money. It doesn't say you have to give the money to the one who lent you the money, give it back. You have to give the money to asher osham loi, which means the real original owner. Yeah, in other words, if let's say I lent money to Yitzchok and Yitzchok lent money to Peretz owes me directly. The Rishonim ask a question. Instead of you people, I'm asking on behalf of Rishonim, and it's actually a Gemara in where is it? In Makkas, it's a Gemara somewhere in Psochim, I think actually. The Gemara says, what's a Chiddush? Yeah, why do you need a pasuk for that? Right? Mackenzie can also tell me that if George lent Bruce and Bruce lent Tim, so Tim, what's the big story here? I'll give you there are many examples where the middle side could have been a problem, yeah? Without going to details, the middle side can be a problem, and we skip over that problem. For example, what about Yisoimim? Let's say Reuven lent Shimon money, and Shimon lent Levi, okay? You say there? Now, good, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, it's that simple. And Shimon died. Baruch Dan Emes, big loudspeakers, Levaya of Shimon. Now Shimon's Yisomim are there, okay? So now, the person who borrowed, the person can take the money straight from the original lender, skipping the Yisomim. Yisomim, you never touch the money of the Yisomim, right? Right? Let's say the Yisomim collected from Reuven, the children of Shimon. Now Levi comes and collects from them. Yisomim money, how can you collect from Yisomim? All kinds of reasons why not? No, because the Yisomim are kilo not there. Because the Yisomim are located in position B, we ignore them. And we say, I don't care, even if it's right now in the hands of the Yisomim, because it's Reuven, Yisomim, Levi, we say Ki'ilu Levi can take straight from Reuven, or vice versa, whichever case that is, and we don't say that the Yisomim are part of the equation. Yeah, had it been Reuven, Shimon, stop, Shimon, Levi. Once it's in the hands of the Yisomim, like these board games, you know the board games, like I don't know, Monopoly, like there's a certain square in the board, like when it's there, like you're stuck. Yeah, that's Yisomim. Once it's in the hands of the Yisomim, you're in trouble deep. It's Ki'ilu the Yisomim are not there because of shiabuda of Nassan. We say Yisomim are not a relevant part of the equation. A goes straight to C or vice versa. That's just, I would start the sugya, but that's one example of shiabuda of Nassan. The same thing over here. The borrower can say, if I owe you a cow and you owe him money for the negicha, I have personal responsibility as a shayel to give the money to the nizak without playing your dirty tricks of agam. And mimela, now I have to pay half because I thought it's tam and I have to pay the tam half. And you have to pay your half, mister, because you are an L-I-A-R. Not nice to say, but you are. And because you did not give full responsibility to me, half the responsibility stays by you, because you didn't tell me the whole story, and therefore you pay half and I pay half, and life's good. Weiter. Good, gewaltig. Frag the Gemara. Now the Gemara is asking the question about what we call the reset. And now if you want to ask your question, Baruch, you'll be welcome to. After now we're going to discuss the reset business, then you can ask your shayla. The Gemara is now again quoting the Brisa, the original Brisa we're dealing with. We are re-quoting it in order to ask a question. Who had the base shoyel? It's a sefer, right? The Chziro Labailim. It was a very nice show, but the house of the shoyel, he watched too much TV. I don't know, internet, all the violence on TV, the shor watched, and the shor became violent in the house of the shoyel. So now the shor 3 times it gored in the house of the shoyel, and then Chzir L'Bailim, it's not the same kid. He's a bad derech. Chzir L'Bailim, still, Bailim Shalmim Chatzi Nezek. The Bailim only pay half a nezek, even though it's the 4th time. The shor potter meklum, and the shor is potter from everything. I don't know, the shor told him. Seifa, sounds like the Seifa believes very much in what? In rehab. Seifa believes Reshus Meshana, that it's a reset. Reshus Meshana, the authority makes a difference. Now that it's back to the hands, to the authority, to the domain of the Reshus of who? Of the real owner, it's a new fresh start. Okay, very nice. But, frag the Gemara, wait. Reisha, Reshus Eina Meshana. When the Reisha, we did not say that. In the Reisha, we didn't say Reshus Meshana, we said the other way, right? If we believe that a new ownership, or not even ownership, a new location, new environment makes all the difference, a new school for the bad kids, not really bad, there are no bad kids, yeah? So what happens in the Reisha? The whole story in the Reisha, which we delved into for so long, what does the whole story say? That the shoyel can tell the real owner, you lied to me, it was a muad. No, it's a fresh start by you. I gave him to you, assuming to a fresh start, and it goes away. All the bad points are shed off him. So what's going on? Does the Brisa believe in Reshus Meshana or doesn't believe in Reshus Meshana? Do we believe in reset or don't we believe in reset? Will the Brisa make up its mind? Amar B'Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan, there are going to be 3 answers, and then it will be your questions if you want. Amar B'Yochanan, Tavra. What does mean Tavra mean? To break, because in Hebrew, to break is lishbo. And taf and shin are interchangeable. You know that in Aramaic, shin in Hebrew is taf in Aramaic. Tavra, it's a broken brisa. The brisa is inconsistent, and I'm okay with that. Misha shonazu, lo shonazu. The Reisha belongs to one school of thought, and the Sefer is another school of thought. It's not even a Mishnah. Mishnah is supposed to be more meduk. Brisas are very freestyle kind of text. The first part of the brisa is one, quoting one opinion, the other one is the other opinion, and everybody loves everybody, like in America. Rabba gives an answer. Rabba does want to keep the consistency, and Rabba says like this. Since the Reisha says Reshus does not make a difference, it's not a reset, so too by Seifa, conceptually, I would have also said Reshus Eina Meshana. And therefore, if 3 times by the house of the shoyel it was muad, it should have been that the 4th time, when it's back to the owner, it should have paid nezek sholem. So why does it pay half? The Seifa, Hainu Taima, you know why it only pays half and goes back to be a tam in the house of, back to the house of the owner? Mishum de Omer Lei, because the owner tells the borrower, the shoyel, Lav kol kaminach chutzpen, you don't have the right, kol kamin, you don't have the right, you can't take the liberty, the mi'ad slay l'toiroi, you can't make my shor muad by you. Now, you may ask a question, that's a childish, kivyochol, idiotic thing to say. Reality is, it became what in the house of the shoyel. You have no right to do it. No, Zokt Rashi is something brilliant and true, of course. Says Rashi, let's be honest with ourselves. Unless you're a real choshev, a very good person, Mekayim Halacha, most people don't look after other people, unless you're trained and educated that way. Very naturally, people don't look after other people's money as well as look after their own. It should be the other way, and maybe you disagree with me, but the human nature is that you did not really keep him well. You showed him TV. Says Rashi, Lo shel chahoya v'lo nizharta b'shmirosoi. It wasn't yours. You're not careful enough in guarding it, and therefore it went around and gored 3 times. In other words, the short time in muad is not just about nature. It's about how many times really it accumulated bad points. It's like you drive someone else's car for free. Yeah, you made accidents, you're a reckless driver. So now you have points with the police. It's not my fault. Why should my car or my insurance, whatever, get points because of you? You're a reckless driver. You, the shoyel, you didn't look after it well enough. It accumulated the, excuse me for saying so, stupid points by you. It shouldn't affect me. Had it, you get what I'm saying? Had it been buying from a different owner, I would say it was shus meshana and a chanami. If it was mamish, a real different owner, if it was your shor and would come to me, the shus ain't a meshana. But now that we say that it was by the shoyel, the behavior by the shoyel does not reflect the behavior by the real bailim. The real bailim, it's a clean slate. I will look after it very, very nicely, guard it well, lock, stock, and barrel, and by me it's going to be back to be a good time, disciplined. No TV, no unfiltered. Papa Oma. Papa gives a similar answer, but the other way. The Sefer Shus Meshana, Reishanam Shus Meshana. Sefer says no. If the Sefer says Rishus Meshana, so is the Reisha. Conceptually, we believe that Rishus is Meshana, and therefore a new owner would be a new fresh start. The Reisha. Why is it by the Reisha that we say that the owner that gave it to the shoyel, then it does make a difference and it continues the old way, and the points are still accumulated in him? You know the case of the Reisha, wherever the animal is, the name of the owner is on it, which means very, very easy. A shoyel is not a real owner. When we talk about real owners, Rishus Meshana, and that's, by the way, what the Rambam paskins. Now I understood the Rambam when I saw this Gemara. I had big simcha when I saw this Gemara. When it's real different ownership, different behavior, different environment, and real different owner, the car changed hands. Now in the Ministry of Transportation, a new name, that's real clean slate, and a chinami. So if Reuven was the owner and Shimon was a new owner, fresh start, reset, all starts again. But a borrower, with all due respect, is not the owner, and therefore what? And therefore when we talk about the owner being the owner, and now it has 3 points, now it's being borrowed, lent to another person, he doesn't have the right to have a new start because it's still registered, so to speak, under the owner. Mishenken the other way, from a shoyel to the guy, we say Rishus Meshana because the shoyel is weaker. Points accumulated by the shoyel are not really Shem Bolov. It's it doesn't really affect the shor because it's not real ownership. Real ownership makes a difference. Borrowing doesn't make a difference either way, if you notice. Either way, it's very, very good now. Let's summarize 1 second. I'm slower than you, unfortunately. Let me first let this seep in and then we'll get to the other cases. Get what's going on over here. If Reuven was the owner and then there was a clear get krisus, cutoff point, they went to the door, to the post. That's what they do when you buy a new car in Israel, to change ba'avad ba'alut, new owner, fresh start, either direction. Masha'inken, when it's a borrower is not a real owner, and therefore what? He doesn't have the koyach to make any difference either way. When I'm the owner and it was 3 times bad points by me and I lent it to him, just because he lives in a nicer house and he's a cutesy man who loves animals and lives in California or in Tel Aviv, doesn't make a difference. At the end of the day, the points are there. The real owner, the ownership stays. And therefore, when he gores once by the house of the shoyel, nezek sholem, and that's all business we had before. Masha'emka, the other way, if it starts misbehaving by the shoyel and comes to me, my ownership will start a new thing because only my ownership makes a difference. Get me? What happens by the shoyel is irrelevant vis-a-vis the bailim either way. So even though it became a bad boy by the shoyel and 3 times it gored, your behavior by the shoyel is not reflecting the emes because you're not a real owner. Doesn't reflect anything real. You'd have to pay whatever you have to pay. But by me, no. By me, it's a new clean slate. Not even a clean slate. It never made a difference. Yeah, it was on a vacation. Vacation behave differently. It's another metzias. You watch TV over there in the plane. It's a yeshiva bacher. It's a different matzav. Mimela, we say over here, is all new. I'd like to continue. Yeah, I promise you questions. Okay, questions they will be. Yes, sir. I don't think there's a difference between Sachir. No, I think it's any show. L'chor, any show, Merpashtas. I owe you an answer from yesterday. Excuse me. There's a queue from yesterday. Like you go to the post, I tell you I have the queue here from yesterday. 1 minute, please, Rabbi. Answering Ellen's question. It's not really an answer because of course I'll quote the question. Ellen asked yesterday, when a person died by a bull, was killed by a bull, and it's his fault because he trespassed. He's some stupid adventurous guy. He jumped into the cowshed where the angry bull is. Yeah, sounds like the name of a pub, maybe, like in England, it would be, angry bull. I never stepped into one, don't worry, yeah? So, yeah, he went into the angry bull, literally, the angry bull, mamish, kipshutai, and he gored him. So Ellen asked the good question, Ruth also thought it's a good question. On one hand, they can say, Tocha Bilshusi, my boys, it's your fault, I'm not going to pay. On the other hand, maybe when it comes to killing, it's so bad, you need kaporo, because it's not payment, it's kaporo. I'm happy to inform you that the Gemara does not really discuss it, but I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow. I think in tomorrow's shiur, listen carefully, your answer will come from Tosfos. Not indirectly, your case is being discussed, and Tosfos mentions your point, and then you'll see the answer. Okay?
That means
Means you have to come tomorrow. You're a captive audience. If you don't come, you miss. One more question, and I really want to continue a little bit. Okay, I prefer to continue just a bit. You're okay? I don't think it's a difference in shor and shiur. Lo nearly. I think it's the same. Yeah. By the way, the Rambam says it about apotropos also. Baruch, I'm answering you. The apotropos could be shor or maybe if he gets paid by Bezin, right? So yeah, the Rambam says it's owners versus shoymrim because apotropos also is not reshus mishana. That's what the Rambam paskins. Shora Itztadin and Chayiv Misa. Ole. We're going to Spain. Yeah? The Shora Itztadin said the Mishnah. That's the end of the Mishnah. At the bull of the stadium of the bullfighting. Misken, he's trained on a bad derech. He's a tinek shenishba. Right from the start, they train him to gore, to do bad things. And Mimel, if he gored, let's say not a person, let's say he gored whatever he gored, he's potter because he's oinus. Interesting, there's oinus animals. He's onus, he was trained that way because we say ki yigach v'lo sheyigichu. It has to be his own natural yetzer, not something he was trained to do. Iboilu, comes the question now, mal gabe mizbeach. Now, we are going to see very soon that when you bring a korban, you have to be very selective regarding what kind of korban you have to bring. You cannot just bring any animal for korban. I really hope Beis HaMikdash is built today, and tomorrow I'd like to bring a korban, bli neder, not mischayev. So can I just go to the animal market to take whatever I want? Yes or no, quick? Any requirements, any prerequisites? Not anything. What cannot, let's say the animal is complete and intact and whole. It's the healthiest animal you've ever seen in your life. Don't tell me moom. No. It has no blemish. Microscopically checked with the corona by the doctors of Maccabi Muchedet, Lumit, and Klalit. Beautiful animal. Still are there requirements? What? Avodah Zarah. Let's say the animal was served as Avodah Zarah, was worshipped as Avodah Zarah also. Let's say the animal had relations, bestiality with a human being. Not funny at all. So it's possible. Oh, let's say the animal killed someone. Possible. Let's say the animal killed someone, but the animal itself wasn't killed for technical reasons. I want to bring it to a korban. No, you can't bring the korban an animal that killed a person. I said before, let's say it didn't kill a person. Now we're talking that the animal who is a bullfighting bull, and now it's trained that way, and it killed a person. We say misken is potter. Yeah, potter from dying. We don't kill it. We don't kill the shor because it's an oinus. Now, wait a second. Hey, what about korban? Do we also say that it's so okay, the oinus, we're so forgiving that would even bring it to the mizbeach? That's a question. We don't kill it because misken is an onus. Kigach v'lo shegichu. But do you even go 1 inch further? Would you even bring it to the mizbeach, not just let it graze in the corner? Rav Omer kosher, Shmuel Omer pasul. Machlokes Rav Shmuel. Rav says it's kosher, and that's halacha. Shmuel says pasul. Rav Omer kosher, onusu. Rav says it's an onus. Onus Rachmana Patre means that's it. It's kilo never did it. Oinus, the animal is completely honest. It's a good boy. Misken, he was trained the wrong way. He's so really good inside. I'm joking, yeah? He's so non-problem, they can even bring him to the Mizbeach. Shmuel Omer pasul. Shmuel says it's possible because at the end of the day, there was a sin made with it, right? At the end of the day, it killed a person, which is like an avera by human beings. So I'm not looking at the shor's intentions or the shor's education. At the end of the day, the shor killed someone. I would get it off the mizbech. No, don't bring it to the mizbech. Okay, to be continued tomorrow, the first wide line. Thank you very much. Shiur's over. Yes.